Drunk driving. It's a crime that everyone has an opinion on. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the Secretary of State, and now you or a loved one, you've got charged with the crime, OWI, or operating while intoxicated. What do you do now? Hi, I'm Scott Weinberg. I'm a former prosecutor, and I've represented thousands of people who've been charged with drunk driving here in Michigan for over 20 years. So I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do to protect your rights and how to deal with the prosecutors and the courts. Here in Michigan, we've got very strict drunk driving laws, or operating while intoxicated. That's the way the statute's written. Let me give you the skinny on what you need to know about your rights. First, did you know that you had an absolute right not to answer any of the questions the officer asked when he stopped you? Like, where were you coming from? Or how much you had to drink? You had no obligation to do any of those field sobriety tests, touch your nose or say the alphabet. All those questions, they're all geared to getting evidence against you in court. All you have to do is be polite. Hand them your driver's license and your registration and insurance. Say you want to talk to your lawyer, period. I know what you're thinking. Then why didn't they tell me that at the scene? Because you have to realize that the police, they're not on your side when you're facing drunk driving. They work for the government. You need your own representative. You need a good attorney. Next, let's talk about the breath test. There were probably two of them, right? The roadside test, called a preliminary breath test, or PBT for short. Again, you had no obligation to take it, but if you did and blew over .08, then that can be the probable cause the officer needs to arrest you. The next chemical test you took was probably the breathalyzer back at the station. The results of that test are the ones that kill you in court. Now, there are ways to challenge that breathalyzer result. For instance, the police have to have a certified operator doing the test. In the machine, it has to be inspected and tested, and they have to wait 15 minutes before the test is given to you. For instance, to see if you put anything in your mouth. Those are just a couple of the ways that you can try to challenge a drunk driving case. Now you have the right to refuse that breath test, but it comes at a cost, like a year suspension with no restricted license unless you win an appeal. So if they took blood from you, then there's a whole other factor to consider. Know your rights from the very beginning. Finally, remember when you go to court, the prosecutor is going to assume that this is not the first time you drank too much and drove. The statistic that they generally use is that anyone caught over the legal limit and driving has done it dozens of other times, not just the one that you got caught on. So remember, the prosecutor is not your lawyer. He's not your representative. He's there to get a conviction on your record. So make sure that you're properly represented in court. Take care.